Good day.
Hello.
So do you know if this events that we're going to do on Wednesday, is that announced somewhere?
I think Andrea had a comment on that in the agenda for today, that it's not really announced anywhere, and for that reason, maybe we should reschedule.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yes.
Because if it's not, I mean, if we don't, basically, if no one's coming, there's no idea of having it.
No, exactly. It would be a bit pointless. It would be, what do you say in Swedish? A förening för inbördes beundran.
Yeah, precisely.
So I'm still very confused why there are two meeting calls for this, but I guess this is the correct one because you are here. So I will just cancel the other one in my calendar.
Well, I clicked on the CDF calendar Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I have two of those, one old one and one new one, but I guess if it's in the actual CDF Google Calendar, then that should be the correct one. Yeah, here we have Steve as well. That increases the likelihood of us connecting to the right meeting, or me connecting to the right meeting.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing?
It's quite all right. How about you?
Doing good. I was traveling. I tried to take a little bit of vacation last week. Now I'm trying to get caught up. It's amazing how 2 days off you can get so far behind.
Yeah. Emails start piling up, and merge requests and all that stuff just adds to it.
Exactly.
Hello everyone. Sorry, I lost track of time. Sorry, I'm late today.
Hello.
So let's see. I prepared the agenda for today. And I know Emil won't be joining today, and neither will Kara. Sorry, I hope I didn't want to interrupt any ongoing conversation.
No, we were just catching up. Nothing project related, really.
All right. Shall we get started then?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, assuming you guys already add yourself to the agenda. Oh. Okay, welcome to the SIG Events Meeting today. Okay, first thing, quick review of the action item from last week. One was to add a contribution process for city events, which we did. So the PR has been approved, and it's actually now merged into the .github repo. So thanks, Matthias, for pointing that out. So it means that it's available throughout GitHub, wherever there is a contributing point, like when you're creating a new issue, if you're contributing guidelines, would point to the contributing guidelines, etc. Same for PRs and so forth.
Andrea, on that, the code of conduct, is that the latest one, the 2.1? So if you go back to where you were.
Should be, but
just out of your curiosity.
It's the one you added, isn't it?
That's I can't remember.
Okay, so
So the link, yeah, that code of conduct there.
oh, sorry, wrong link. Code of conduct, yeah. So this is, I moved it from the spec repo into the .github. Yeah, it's a
Okay, 2.1. All right, cool. I just want to make sure that we're current on everything.
Yeah, and I think that will show. Oh, I guess I should update this link as well. Now to point to it.
I thought with it being in the .github repo that it would like show up in all the places, but I guess you still got a link to it.
Yeah, but this is just a README for the profile. So this link is something that we added. So I can either update this link or remove it. But I think it would be nice to have it here in the.
Yeah, I would just go ahead and update it.
Okay.
And that's in the profile.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Okay.
Actually do it right now.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Steve. Next thing, CDCon Contributor Summit. There was a Google form to be done. So I filled a Google form requested for less than 10 person based on the response I got, and requested support for remote participants, as a few of the responses indicated they wouldn't be able to go to Austin. Okay, if there is any questions, stop me. So for the next one is the PR document. So we discussed a bit about last time, and I mean, most of the comments there are merged. We have a few quotes. It would be good to get a few more. I think we have people assigned, including myself. So hopefully we can get some more quotes.
Yeah,
in the
I need to
future.
remember that as well. I know I have promised to write a quote there.
Yeah, and Steve Chin from JFrog, who's part of the CD Foundation, he said he would do it, and I'll just have to get his text from him. So I will work on that. So we should have one more from JFrog.
Oh, that's great. My mouse is dying. Okay. Oh. Cool. Thanks, Steve. Next item, marketing colleague. Yeah, Kara is not here today. I don't know if there is anything to add on this one. Okay. In terms of CD events at KubeCon, there is a Google form there that I set up for I was interested and ideas. I got 9 responses so far, several ideas of names for the event. Yeah, if you have not replied yet, please do. I guess we need to just move on with the organization of the event. Yeah, that's all of the from the action items. In terms of updates from other groups, So one thing we discussed was the CD Foundation and profit sponsorship application for HackMD. Also, I put there a link so you can go and have a look. And basically, Fatih made the application, and it seems that it's moving forward nicely. There are some requirements to be fulfilled, and it should end up in having like 20 accounts available for the CDF. So yeah, keep you posted on updates, so you can follow the issue. And the other thing from TOC is that Bavy platform is now available. So it's on community.cd foundation, and there is a SIG Event Chapter, I think it's called. Yeah. And so myself and Oleg are in as organizers, but there's not much else defined for now. But yeah, we can use this to organize meetups, basically.
Is there any idea of moving from Zoom to Bevy, or is that only for webinars?
Yeah, so Oleg asked about that, and so at the moment, I think there is no pressure to move away from Zoom specifically, but it might be, or we might do it in the future to like move everything there instead of using Zoom and Bevy. Do you have any specific point in favor of one or the other platform? I'm not familiar with Bevy at all myself, to be honest.
It was mainly actually just more of a question. Otherwise, we are not allowed to install the Zoom application on our work laptops. So I'm running in the web client.
Do you know if you'll be able to install Bevy though? Or would it be the same thing where you have to run it through the browser?
Don't know there, actually.
Okay.
I know everyone working at Zoom, at Google has the same problem. They cannot install the Zoom client. Does Bevy provide a desktop client?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the platform looks like for. I knew it was taking place as for organizing the meetups, and you know, you kind of join your local meetup group through as Bevy, but I did not. I don't know the extent past that. You know, on the web meeting side, what capabilities it has.
All right, I'll if I know more next time, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
And I think the next thing on the agenda, in fact, is about where we have a SIG Events webinar that we originally planned for Wednesday the 2nd. So yeah, at this stage, well, Oleg is not here, is he? Yeah. But yeah, at this stage, I don't know of any content that we have prepared, and the event is not created in the platform yet. And yeah, so it feels to me like there is not enough time to advertise for a webinar to happen on Wednesday, in 2 days from now. Don't think it will be very successful. So I wonder whether we should reschedule that.
Yeah, I think we should reschedule that, and because I haven't seen anything be pushed out at all. So I think what we should do is somebody should reach out to Kara to get it, reschedule it.
Yeah.
Sounds reasonable.
And by then we should know more about the Bevy platform, hopefully, whether we're going to use like Zoom webinar or if we're going to be able to do it through the Bevy or, you know, the logistics.
Okay. I can do that. I can ask Kara. I don't know if the current date, I mean, there is an entry, like a placeholder in the calendar. So we probably can just move that for now. And yeah, there's nothing created in the Bevy platform yet. And I guess I should be able to create new events. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I need to learn about the platform as well. So, all right.
Just to update all, just posted on Slack MLA to the call. So I pasted the link, so we'll see if it joins.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, that's all I had in the agenda for today. Anyways, I mean, is there anything else folks would like to discuss? Do you want to use the rest of the time to discuss about SIG events or CD events, or keep the meeting short for today?
So I just have two quick things.
Yep.
One is Tracy. So Ortelius has a working group in Australia, and that working group is doing a bunch of work around events for the GitOps process. And Brad McCoy found a project out there called Directive that has a huge number of events, kind of like predefined. So I think that, let me drop you the link in the chat here. I think this is it, but don't quote me 100%. Let me get to, but there may be another project out there that we can, it is an open source project. It is not part of an organization from what I understand. So it may be able to, we may be able to leverage some of what they have going on. So let me give you this. And I'm not 100% sure if this is the right site. That's why I was out when the meeting happened. So in the chat is the link.
Okay.
So I will confirm and make sure that is the right, and I can probably arrange for either a demo to us, or since they're in Australia, maybe even like a pre-recorded demo as part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be something that we can get a lot of, you know, kind of jump ahead, because if it is what I think, from what Brad and Tracy described to me, it sounded like they had a lot of events covered for different tools. So it may be, you know, just a way to kind of give us a leap forward pretty quick. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and I will let you know what I find and see what we can do to get some more information about that project. The other thing is for our CDCon day that we have. From the Ortelius side, we are, like I said, work on the GitOps model with events. That's pulling together, and I think we could probably pull together a presentation if there is room, a time slot available for us.
That's for the KubeCon event.
KubeCon, that's right. Sorry, KubeCon.
Okay, so there's not this one.
So if we need a speaker, I can round up some folks from the Ortelius side. And that will be around the GitOps events.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thanks, Steve. Cool. Sounds very interesting. Yeah, I don't think we agreed on the format of the event yet, but I think for me, I think it would make sense, especially if we have the full day, to have like maybe half a day of talks, and yeah, this kind of content. I think it would be very interesting to see.
Yeah, because we're moving along pretty well, and things are starting to get solidified. So I think it'll be a good fit.
Great, thanks, Steve.
Just one thing that popped into my head, Steve, when you mentioned GitOps is in the Eiffel community, and Matthias will know more about this, there is an ongoing effort to see if through events we can represent the complete Git graph, so to say, commits and trees and tags and all that stuff just through the events. I'm not saying that is something that we need in CD events, but it's probably something that we could at least discuss at some point. So this would basically mean that whenever a commit is created, an event is sent for that commit that describes the commit in Git terms, so to say, to declare what parents it has and what hash it has, etc., etc. So
Right.
that fundamentally you could get a perfect understanding of what commits there are without even talking to the repository.
Yeah, and I think that would be a really nice thing to have that happen, so you don't have to plumb together a bunch of webhooks to get that information.
Mm.
And I think if we, in that case, if you're just looking at public repos and not try to deal with a private repo in that case, that would be an easy way to get started.
Yeah, because I know, Matthias, that I think there was, or in the Eiffel community issue, there is like a task inside that issue somewhere that someone should come here and present, but I'm not sure when that could be possible.
Okay. Yeah, I guess maybe if we have some things, because it's not, there were a couple questions left over there. So I guess we have to settle a little bit more before we can take the presentation forward. But yeah, that's a good idea to sync between.
Cool.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. You know, it's the way these things are kind of, everybody's starting to think about them now, which is good.
Mm.
Yeah, one of the things, and for the metrics POC that I started looking into is like you need to be able to say what is the time per change to get in production. So basically, you need to know when a specific change gets into a release, and then when that release is in production. And so to be able to correlate when a change is in a release, you need to have access to some kind of changelog or releases or Git history of some kind. So yeah, I think it will be relevant for this kind of problems as well. Yeah, but one question that pops to mind though is what do you do if you start listening to events at a certain point? You don't have all the history from what happened before that point in time. You still need probably to have some access to some history.
Yeah,
from...
and I think I keep on coming back to this, that I think down the road that we're going to need to have a persist the events. So if you jump in, like you said, if you plug in and start listening to events and you want to go back through the history that's somewhere persisted out there, is a way to get to the history of the events. You know, that's a lot of data, but I can foresee us needing that down the road, a way to persist this the event graph for lack of a better word.
So this, I think, is something that is very core to Eiffel. Matthias, you would know more.
Yeah, in Eiffel we have, it's basically as a principle that it's there is an event repository which you basically will listen to all the events. So either a job or some tasks will listen directly to the events, and then if you need some more data, you can actually traverse this event repository where we have the events persisted.
Nice. Yeah, I can. What's the data storage behind that repository?
Currently we're using MongoDB.
Okay.
But I guess if there is other alternatives out there, especially if there is something high performance, if you're sending a lot of events, then I don't know if MongoDB is the correct one to use, but yeah.
Yeah, no, the 4Keys project from Google, they use BigQuery, of course, because that's what's available in Google Cloud. But I think it's a similar type of technology. I mean, you store JSON documents, right? And you can query on specific fields, I think. So.
Yeah, we're looking at a graph database. I just put it in the chat. We're looking at this graph database because graph databases manage relationships really well. Million to million types of relationships that can query very quickly, and that may fit into the event repository. And they have a commercial edition, and they have the community edition. From the
database for developer advocates.
It's like whether you get commercial support or not commercial support, I think, from what I remember. But it is a so one of the things, so it's a graph database, which is different than GraphQL. So you just have to make sure that you don't get the two mixed up. So the when you start looking for these, make sure you're looking at a graph database. And it's similar. It's similar to like a Mongo, the way it persists things, but also it builds additional pathways to do the relationships really quickly. It's just something that we're looking at from the Artelius side, because we're running into scaling a large number of relationships for example, finding all the microservices and all the applications that use Log4j worldwide. You know, so you're into the millions of repositories and things like that when you start looking at that information.
Cool. Thanks for the pointer.
Sorry, Matthias, surely you have some sort of high performance setup for the event repository in Eiffel in Ericsson, because Ericsson definitely doesn't send a small amount of messages per day.
Yeah, we should have.
Well,
But,
Mongo's pretty good.
Yeah, but in Ericsson, it's actually since we are dividing things in different domains, we kind of like avoid the issue a little bit.
So you have multiple event repositories for different domains.
Yeah, precisely. But yes, that's it's one of those things that we should get better at. So yeah, interesting with the OrangoDB.
Nice.
So those are just a couple of things I stumbled across the last week or so. And that's basically all I had for today.
Thanks, Steve. One thing that just came to mind, as I mentioned, the metric POC. Just wanted to mention that I started working in this R&D. So if you want to contribute or have ideas, feel free to comment or add comments on it. And yeah, so the architecture is again with like multiple platforms on top, sending events to an event broker. And then we have this event storage that we were just talking about. So this discussion is very relevant for this POC as well. Because yeah, we need to pick one kind of storage that we can use. And maybe yeah, MongoDB could be an option, or OrangoDB. So I will look into these options. And for the POC, we're not trying to build specifically pipeline visualization, but it's more about the metrics. And the idea is to be able to provide the 4 DORA metrics through CD events. So what I did, I started looking at the different metrics and what kind of events we have and what kind of events type we could use. Yeah, and I think one area is like in the change failure rate, specifically, that we don't have any event, possibly also in the time to restore service. So yeah, we need to discuss what to do there, or maybe I can make a proposal. My idea is going along the lines of having something like an incident type of subject, reference as a problem type of object that they use in their events. So you could have like incident start and incident finished, and you could imagine if you're tracking your incidents, for instance, through GitHub or Jira, that event could come from an issue, a ticket created there, or if you have something like Captain, where you have like SLI or SLO monitoring, and if there is some of these that are failing because after a release, performance is not good anymore, then automatically an incident type of event is created.
So look at, I just was looking at that directive, and they have it says cloud events from logs. So that I can't tell, they look like they have Stackdriver and CloudWatch, but I think they may plug into Prometheus as well. But I would poke around at that directive, and you may be able to uncover some stuff that will help you along with that.
Cool. Yeah, that would be a very very meaningful source of this kind of events. But yeah, I think maybe I would like to get some feedback on is specifically whether folks make things that make sense to expand kind of the current stages that we have into that area, because today we have like core CI/CD, CI/CD, what else? And change management systems, but we don't have anything on the kind of operation side of things, or like incident and so forth. But I think it would make sense to have this category, because even just for having satisfying these kind of use cases for the DORA metrics, you would need to have some events, and I think there are multiple sources that could generate these events.
Yeah, and kind of circling back around to when we were talking about the Eiffel Git events, one of the things that we're running into from the Ortelius side is being able to get in order to do some of the DORA metrics, you need to know like when the commit was created, the time the commit was created, so you can then do the time difference between when the commit was created and when it was actually deployed to like production. And that's going to be one of your DORA metrics, is the time between commit and deployment. That's some of the information that you'll need, and other things like lines of number of lines changed between certain commits, so and between multiple commits as well. So those are some of the other things that fit into the DORA metrics that I think is going to be where we can grab things from other events and kind of, like you said, to roll it up to that level. Because one of the weird things is the git commit. You can't query. There's not like an easy way to get the timestamp for a commit without having access to the repo. So you can't like hit a RESTful API endpoint and get the timestamp. You actually have to have the repo local to inquire the log at that point.
So a note there. Yeah, I posted a link there. We have an event called source change created in Eiffel, which is basically describing a change, and then a change would be then connected to a commit. And here we have, scroll down a little bit more, we have the change that is then search and deletions, file details and so on. And then we don't have a timestamp in this one, but the kind of idea with Eiffel is, of course, you send the event as close to as possible. So it might not be the exact timestamp when the commit was created, but the idea is that if you create something, you should also send an event for it. So by that way, you actually know when the commit was created by looking at the timestamp of the event.
Right.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think for that one, let me check. I think we hopefully have it.
For a DORA metric, if you're off by a few milliseconds, it's not going to really make any difference.
Yeah, indeed. So I think we have like change created, change updated, and change the change merged event would be the CD event one. I think corresponds to what you were mentioning, Matthias, and then we have a timestamp there as well. So yeah, so I think for that part, yes, we do have that information. But so yeah, we can just rely on time. I mean, if let's say if we have we know that at a certain point a release happens or a deployment happened, we can just make the assumption that anything that was merged before that is in. But if you want to know that is in fact in, you need to have like even more information to be able to correlate changes to releases and then releases to deployments. But yeah, so for the POC, depending on how far we get, we can get that type of information, or we can just really rely on the timestamps to begin with, and then add more events. Cool.
Yeah, definitely cool.
Yeah, thanks for all the input on this. I put the link to the POC RCMD into the agenda, and if you want to browse for it and leave comments and extra comments in there, yeah, it's, very welcome. All right.
Cool. Nice job on that, on the POC doc. You definitely put a lot of work into it, and thank you.
Sure. Hopefully we can hopefully we can make a nice POC out of it and present it in upcoming conferences. It would be nice.
Yeah, definitely. It'll definitely point out where the nice thing with doing these POCs is it allows us to see after we start showing it to people where we have a hole somewhere that we need to take as the next step in the project.
Yeah.
One question when it comes to the PLC here. So we have a project 4 keys, which, as I've understood, basically does some events and actually does all the kind of like heavy lifting. But I guess there is a reason for not like trying to fork that one and change the eventing there.
So what 4 keys does is collecting events from existing sources. It's writing adapters to make assumptions about what the events mean. And it's creating a dashboard that basically do the query on top of the events to show you a dashboard, basically. So definitely that's the stuff we can reuse from 4 keys. Yeah, but I think one of the problems and one of the big amount of work that they had to do, at least that's my understanding from looking at the presentation, is that because they use a lot of Tecton events and there is no real information in there beyond like tasks and pipelines, so there is no like higher level abstractions about what the pipeline is doing, so they need to rely on some kind of naming conventions and then logic, post-processing logic to say, okay, this pipeline was actually doing a deployment, or this pipeline was actually doing a build, and then correlate this information so that they can create the final metrics. And the idea here would be, because in SIG events, we have much more semantic, to show that we can do that hopefully much easier. But yeah, I would love, for instance, to be able to use the same dashboard, showing the 4 metrics with a green light or red light. Yeah. Also, I think they use BigQuery there, but I think, yeah, the backend might be interchangeable. So if we like have a local MongoDB or some other kind of backends, yeah. Unless we could ask, maybe get some credit for Google Cloud and use BigQuery there. That's a direction we could also go.
Of course, yeah. So that's true. Maybe you need to run it on Google in order to run that one, so you can't run it on Kubernetes.
Yeah, I think so. Someone, I think, asked sorry, just the name of the lady is escaping me. Yeah, the engineer from Google who worked on the project. But during a presentation at CityCon, someone asked about how strict the dependencies to BigQuery, or she said that yeah, there's nothing that there's really BigQuery specific, so you could use another backend and change some of the logic in the project to run it on top of something else. the way that it's been created has been created on top of BigQuery, but it should be possible to adapt it if you wanted to. So I think that there's an option there.
And there may be other projects that we can reuse, like when we go to like visualize this, you know, you have like Kiali and even Prometheus and, you know, Istio all have some sort of visualization of relationships. So some of those may be able to, you can grab things from those projects as well.
Okay.
The two visualization libraries I end up using a lot is D3S is one of them.
Like this?
D, just D, the letter D, then 3, the number 3S.
Okay.
Yep. The other one is Viz, VIS.js. Those are the two
The first
graphic.
one is not JS, kind of JavaScript.
Yeah, they're both JavaScript,
Right.
but the more on the node. Those are the two. Primarily, they have favorable licenses for us to include. Some of the extensions may be in like a GNU license, but the core libraries are all, I think, MIT or Apache.
Okay. Do you have experience with these, Steve?
Yeah, we use them in Artelius, both of those.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, if we get to a point where we want to build some visualization, maybe if you have someone on the Artelius side that has a few cycles to spare, maybe we can work together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Something. I have very limited experiences on JavaScript, so definitely.
A lot of it is just getting the data. If you can get the data in the right format that the library is expecting, usually some sort of JSON format that you can, you know, they'll give you a sample, and if you can follow that pattern and get the data, your data in that format, it's pretty plug and play to drop in and get the something to render pretty easily.
Cool.
But usually the input is a JSON format. And there's a bunch of dictionary, you know, dictionary of dictionaries type of.
Yeah. Right.
It just depends which graph you're going after. Then you end up calling some of their functions to transpose it into data that the particular graph that you're working with is going to use a transposed data set to do the rendering. But once you have that base JSON file, a JSON format, then that's the key part.
All right. Thanks. I'll add some notes about this also in the POC document then. And I mean, I think it would be great if we can get some of this as well. I mean, like having a dashboard that shows you the metrics.
And we may be able to use, we're in the process, I'll know more later this week, but we're in the process of adding some of these metrics into Artelius. So we
cool.
may be able to use Ortelius as the dashboard part of it for some pieces of it.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. All right. Do you have anything? If you have any like public documentation or links that you can?
Yeah, I'll know more later this week. We have our architecture meeting on Thursday.
Okay. Cool.
I need to look. I need to read through your metrics markdown to make sure we have everything covered. I think we do, but I'll double check.
All right. Thanks.
Well, I need to drop. I have to get ready for another meeting here coming up.
Yeah, same here. But yeah, thanks a lot, Steve. And I guess then see you next time.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, and we'll keep in touch.
Andrea,
Yeah.
just a short one. I dropped in a link there in the chat. I saw you talked about releases and so on.
Right.
So quickly, in AFL, we basically, if you have a release and you want to group like events together, we have this flow context defined event, and that one event would then other events would link to this one. So then you would actually define your release or something there, and you would link all the other events to that event. That is how we have solved it in AFL to group events together to something.
Very interesting. Okay.
So as an AFL, we linked. So that's the kind of like way for getting things. So it's not a subject in all events, but you link to it instead.
So would it be then that in the release events, you would link to all the events that are related to changes that are part of that release, you think?
Basically, all events can link to a flow context defined event. So then there's a lot of events that links to this event. So maybe it's a little bit backwards in some case, but usually as you define like a track opening or something, you define now we have a certain, we're preparing for a certain release, and then you have all the events connecting to that one instead.
Oh, right. So yeah, I see. The thing is that when you make a change, you don't necessarily know which release the change will go in. I mean, you might plan for it, but it might be that at the end of the day, when you do a release, you decide to include or not include certain commits, depending on what the cut day is. And so, yeah, I see. But it's, yeah.
Yeah, if you're defining the release afterwards, then we do it. But then maybe you could create in AFL it would be a composition defined. So you would create a composition to group things together, and then you can refer to that. This composition is the one that defines this release. Could be one way of doing it.
It's definitely an interesting concept anyway, so it's something that yeah, we could discuss if we want to include it in city events as well. And yeah, definitely we have a use case we can solve with this. It's something that we can include in there. Cool. I mean, if you, yeah, I'm not sure if it would solve for the releases, but I need to think a bit more about it. But if you, if you have some thought or idea on how we could use it or fit it into one of the existing POCs, yeah, that's just go ahead and make a proposal. I think it's
I just wanted to point it out because I saw it when I looked at the you talked about releases.
All right.
So yeah, because you said there that it's optional repo attributes. Are we talking about like a release event, or was that something maybe? I haven't read this, so I probably should read it before I ask too much. If you need to go now.
Yeah, I have another meeting in 3 minutes, but let me try and find out releases.
But you can skip it. I can read better, and you can go on to your next meeting. I don't want to hold you too much.
All right. Well, thanks again, Matthias. Yeah, I think there's lots we can benefit from Eiffel, and I need to go and spec into the links as well to see, make some proposal around that based on what I learned from Eiffel. So yeah. All right, then yeah, see you next time.
Yeah.
Have a great
See ya.
rest of the day. Bye.
Bye-bye.